Live on a Victory Monday edition of Cleveland Browns Daily, presented by Tito's Handmade Vodka. The cream is in. Victories in the win column, my friend.
Kareem Hunt went over 50 yards for the first time in 9
Boy, he
games.
ran good, didn't he?
He sure did. And the
Love
Browns
seeing him
won.
run.
Let me tell you, guys, if you
Just
were
how
paying
he drew it.
attention, I was going to say, it's exactly as it was laid out on this program all week leading up to the game.
By him.
Basically by Gibbe, honestly. Gibbe had it. Everything bad for our offense and somehow a rout.
Wait, everything bad?
That's what you predicted.
It feels good to be right and 1-0 this week. I don't know.
You were, yeah.
I mean, that's.
But you were like,
I don't
game
think there's
flow.
negativity here.
You're like,
today.
we're not running it effectively. We're not going to throw it
I think
effectively.
it's interesting that not even 30 seconds into the show, you're being negative.
What do you mean? You were negative,
I-
but you
I
had it.
know. I went 4-1. Let me know when you get to my
Hold
level.
on a
buddy.
second. Hold on a second.
Hold on a second.
No,
It
no,
started
no, no,
off
no.
5-0, and now I keep going backwards.
No,
here.
you went 5-0.
No, because
He didn't miss one. He got Chubb Watson under, Watson rating under, Browns first half touchdowns 2.5 under, sacks, interceptions, fumbles,
over was, and that was under.
and that was
That's
under.
what he missed.
So that's the one he missed. That's the one he missed. Okay, yeah. 4-1.
He always misses that one.
Yeah, you don't. No matter what.
No
But
matter what.
you'll be in first place. Look, it can be both that it's awesome to get a win, that it's crazy to get one with a from our team, a punt return touchdown, a fumble return touchdown. One of the most ridiculous interceptions from John Johnson that I think I've ever seen. It was a stunning happenstance. Right place, right time, ball doesn't hit the ground, feet in. I mean, that was a stunning way to start the game.
It was like the guy caught the ball, fell to the ground, then volleyball set it up for John Johnson, who said, "Oh, I'll catch that." But he did tremendous job to get his feet in. I thought that can't be overlooked for John.
Yeah,
Johnson there.
he really did. And it can be all that. And it can also be, and then this is in no way a reflection of what I anticipate this will look like in the relatively short term and certainly in the long term, that it was disappointing how Four threw it. I mean, that's all part of it. There were flashes of brilliance. You saw it. He throws a BB. He hit Amari Cooper on one across the middle that was you're like, oh, that's it.
Yeah.
Like even the boys were like, wow, that comes out quick. Like Beamsy noticed it right away. He's like, wow, he throws a lot harder, a lot faster than Jacoby. But also, 700 days is real, brother. And
Oh yeah.
and it was, and he one-hopped some stuff that was more than just a one-hop. I mean, it was like 8 yards short, like some of that stuff. Some of the misreads that he had were real. The good news is you can learn all of this amidst a win, and that's a lot more fun. But this is going to be a work in progress for him to get back to game form.
Yeah, that was it. Look, he had a great couple days of practice towards the end of the week. You thought it would be good, but there's no way to simulate game speed.
No.
There really isn't. And, I talked with a couple of guys on the offense afterwards, and the Browns put some, new things, some Watson-specific things in there, and we saw that. It wasn't seamless, and, yeah, it was – I think he wanted to make sure he didn't miss high at all, and so he was missing low, whereas Kyle Allen was happy to miss high all day long. Neither one of them was really hitting the strike zone, but there was one on an RPO. Sometimes in Madden, on the wheel RPO, which we literally ran that play, and he was trying to hit it to Felton. Sometimes in Madden, the game just like glitches, and you throw the ball straight into the ground.
Right.
And I said on the I go, it was like that was just like a Madden glitch. It was just he threw it straight into the ground. It was bizarre. But certainly you saw the talent was there. You saw what I thought was practice. First of all, speed's different, but you're also not going to get hit. And you could see he wasn't yet comfortable in a pocket, understanding when he could stand in the pocket, when he could not stand in the pocket. And he has to feel that out with this line as it goes forward. It wasn't our line's best day either.
No.
Which I think added to it. But I love that our defense and our special teams stepped up. Donovan Peoples-Jones, at a point where this game was going off the rails and felt so bizarre, down 5-0. That punt returned the first for the Browns since 2015, Week 2, Travis Benjamin against the Tennessee Titans at First Energy Stadium. That punt return electrified everything. And now it wasn't an immediate, but it just turned it up. And you knew our defense.
Took the pressure off.
You
Just went, okay, all right. Because you knew they weren't going to score.
Well,
like
you
that
could
I would
go in-
drive down and score. So you knew, like, okay.
It gave you the opportunity to go in at halftime and say, guys,
Yeah.
we couldn't have been worse.
Yeah.
And we're ahead. So let's just go be normal, and we're going to win this handily, which they did. I mean, it was 27-8, basically. They scored a late touchdown of no consequence. That was a huge play by DPJ, and this was a game where special teams carried you, and we're starting to get some juice out of the return game. Ford's had 2 40-yard returns. DPJ last week, and then into this week we saw good special teams. Corey Bajorquez with a big punt against Tampa that pinned them back, a big punt in this one that led directly to a fumble recovery touchdown. So our offense wasn't what we are accustomed to, nor was it what it will be when Deshaun Watson returns to form. But we're going to need to be a 3-phase team if we're going 5-0, which is what we need to do. And it starts going 1-0 in the toughest game remaining on our schedule, honestly.
Yes.
Down in Cincinnati next week.
Yeah, it does. We were talking last week toward the end of the week, and you'd seen some of the practice stuff, and you saw how Deshaun look. The reality of this is, and it was something that maybe just be out of excitement we overlooked. But I do remember speaking about this early all the way back in August when we first learned of the suspension, that the notion that he would just plug and play and be 2020 Deshaun Watson.
Yep.
It's too damn long. It's 2 seasons without playing meaningful snaps. It's 700 days without playing meaningful snaps. And the reality is, and I think you hit it right, I think it was mostly the pocket where he just wasn't comfortable in it, was not comfortable with noise around him, wasn't comfortable with live bullets. I mean, just wasn't. I mean,
No.
And one of the big things that happens in practice is, and this is at every level, don't hit the quarterback, don't touch him.
No.
So now all of a sudden when they can, and you're not used to that, you got to work back into that. And I think that was pretty obvious on Sunday.
And it even felt like, did you notice that his drops were, the speed of his drops, the depth of his drops were not consistent? It felt like he was still trying to find his natural rhythm. And I think that is a very different thing in a real NFL game than it is on a practice field. And for him, it's been, as you said, a long time. Now, we're going to need massive improvement this week. That offensive performance will get us beaten probably handily, regardless of how good our special teams and defense plays against Cincinnati. But we're going to need to be better. You got it out of the way.
Yeah.
If I personally could have changed one thing about that game, I realized we were there to win and play football, but I would have used that fourth quarter to throw the ball a lot.
I probably would have too. I love that your point on the drop depth and pace, because I noticed that I hadn't thought of it in the way that you did, but it was wildly inconsistent. It's a good job.
There was one where he went 10 yards and sprinted,
right.
And it was just. It looked odd.
He seemed more comfortable out of shotgun than under center, clearly, which he spent most of his life in the gun versus under center. So I thought that was very, very obvious. I'm probably with you. I understand you want to be proper sports and all of that, but this is the situation we're in, and you're still in it. You're 5-7. You're in it. You're not eliminated, and if you are to be a team that wins out, then that pass game has got to be elite in a hurry. And by the way, we'll get to these injuries in a second because they've really mounted over the weekend. You've got to be. He needs at bats.
That was my thought. Was that, look? The reality was at that point in the game, up 27-8. This is now a joint practice or an exhibition, and the game was completely in hand. So I wanted to get as much work for him as possible. I understand why you didn't. Because you also need to get your run game, working late in games. That's how you salt away games. Nick Chubb, goes into the game leading the NFL in fourth quarter rushing yards. That's Nick Chubb time. But I wanted to just see, more. I mean, we ended first half, we were totally balanced.
Yeah.
Second half was completely imbalanced, run heavy. And we ended the day with 38 carries and 22 pass attempts. I wanted to see him get as many as he could because of what is to come. And now all of a sudden with what's happened in Baltimore, which is unreal that they pulled that out. They go 19, what is that? I think 16 plays, 91 yards when they had done nothing all day to beat the Broncos. The Broncos are an embarrassment, by the way. Awful.
They are. Yeah.
You had a chance to even pick up a couple games, but, you go down there, you have a chance. Cincinnati, this next week is the toughest game left on your schedule, I think, bar none.
Yeah.
And so you go and you played them very well. But to me, that game is critical that he is not rusty anymore, and you don't know if he will be. I just wanted to see him have one drive, put the ball in the end zone, so it would just happen.
I use this phrase to describe the Ohio State passing attack the last few years with Fields and Stroud and all of this. And the way that I describe it is it's the anchor man, Ron Burgundy off the set. Bing, bong, bong, you're fired, Ed. Like I want that offense. Like bing bong bong.
Yeah.
Away you go. Like I just wanted one drive where it was on pace, timing was right, ball out, crisp, and away you go. And I think if you would have gotten that, you'd have felt so much better. But I also understand that you don't want to chase that because if it's not in the cards, sometimes
Sure.
it's worse. We see that in preseason sometimes. Go ahead, Gibbe. Do you have something?
We have a little breaking news.
Go ahead.
Sorry to interrupt y'all.
I got my pen.
Browns-Ravens moves to Saturday, 4:30. Ravens-Browns, Saturday, December 17th.
17th.
NFL Network, 4:30 p.m. officially.
12-17, 4:30.
Colts-Vikings at 1. Dolphins-Bills, 8:15. Not getting flexed to Sunday Night Football.
Saturday night. Okay.
I'm amazed that they kept us on Saturday then.
Yeah, me too.
I wonder if that means, does that mean Commies Giants gets flexed to Sunday night?
It did.
Yep.
It did.
It
Commies
did.
Giants did.
Yep.
So you're going to have you've got Dolphins Chargers this weekend, Sunday night, and then Commies Giants the following Sunday night.
So Ravens Browns 4:30 Saturday, December 17th.
All right.
Merry Christmas.
There you go.
A week out.
Couple of injury things, and we're going to expand on all of these at greater length a little bit later. We got Tony Fields coming up here in a second. We had a big play in the game yesterday.
Many.
Heartbroken by Sione Takitaki's injury. He'd played his butt off. He's the best dude ever. We've known him forever. And this is
year of his rookie deal.
I know, all of it. It just sucks because he's done everything right and has been awesome this year.
I hope very much that the Browns sign him to an extension. I think that, the price will be right. Obviously, he is a great role player. He wants to be here. Let's just do that so while he's rehabbing, he's not worried about that. Let's keep Sione Takitaki a Cleveland Brown. I could not be a bigger fan of his.
Same. Anthony Schwartz into concussion protocol, and then David Bell had the thumb injury that kept him out of the game yesterday.
Just when you think Anthony Schwartz has turned the corner, he goes and made a nice play. It was a good run after you got to protect the football. You can't have that, and it just then he's not playing, and we need a third receiver.
Yeah.
Especially if Bell's out. Not that Bell's been dynamic, but he's caught 4 passes each of the last 2 games.
You have to have somebody who can actually run routes.
Well, we put Felton in there. If you have him on the field and you don't throw him the ball, you tried one time on one RPO, you don't hand him the ball, he's just out. It's basically like at some point they're going to say, okay, we don't even need to worry about this guy.
Sure.
We need
some dudes.
A guy that needs to be worried about has to be on the field at all times.
Yeah, well said. With yesterday's win, Tito's Handmade Vodka proud to support the Cleveland Browns for the Tito's Victory Vodka program with a $1,000 donation to the Cleveland Animal Protective League, helping to foster compassion and end animal suffering. Thank you, Tito's. Remember to please enjoy Tito's Handmade Vodka responsibly. Sponsored by Tito's Handmade Vodka. 80 proof Tito's Handmade Vodka, 40% alcohol by volume, distilled and bottled in Austin, Texas, and crafted to be savored responsibly. Tony Fields will join us coming up next. We're off and running on a Victory Monday. Cleveland Browns Daily, 850 ESPN Cleveland.
takes the snap, drops to throw. Here comes Myles Garrett. They throw the ball, got tipped and picked off. It got picked off, and there goes Tony Fields for a touchdown.
Myles Garrett, Chase Winovich had pressure. They were trying to set up a screen. It got tipped in the air and brought in. I saw the head official call that incomplete. The ball never went to the ground.
I don't think so. I think the ball popped up in the air.
After discussion, the ruling is the ball never hit the ground. Touchdown.
Touchdown! Absolutely. What in God's name was he looking at?
Cleveland Browns Daily, brought to you by Ballard.
That's awesome.
Coming soon to Ohio on 8:50
You guys are up.
p.m. Cleveland.
That is great. Rumpke Waste Recycling, family owned and operated. You join them as a customer, as an employee, you'll become part of the family. Visit rumpke.com to learn more. And now we head out of the Twisted Tea hotline, brought to you by Twisted Tea, hard iced tea, official sponsor of the Cleveland Browns. Keep it twisted, Cleveland. Linebacker Tony Fields. Well, our broadcast crew knew that you got it out of the air, pal. You knew right away, too, I assume.
Absolutely. Tips and overthrows, you got to get them. I mean, I caught it and ran into that end zone as fast as I could, man.
You did a great job. And before we get into, and first of all, congrats on the great game. You've been playing a lot lately. We'll talk about that in a second. But after the touchdown, I want you to walk us through what happened from your perspective, because I don't know if you've seen the videos yet, but tell us what happened after your touchdown through your eyes.
All honesty, man, first NFL touchdown, lifelong dream. I blacked out. I didn't even, I've always had a celebration plan, but all that went out the window. I just celebrated, and then I always wanted to throw my pops the ball. So once Jordan came and threw me the ball, I went and found my pops in the stands. I threw him the ball.
Now, did you see the completion to your pops? Did you watch the entirety of once the ball was in the air? Did you see this?
Yes, I did.
Incredible catch by your dad. So
for the people who haven't seen it, what happened?
Okay, so Tony throws the ball to his dad. And the ball looks like it's going to come maybe 2 rows short of his dad.
Okay.
His dad Supermans through human beings 2 rows down, lays out, and makes the catch.
Come on.
It was unbelievable. Gibbe's got it on video. Have you and your dad talked about that? What an incredible catch by him. What a great moment for you guys. And obviously, I know everybody was okay, so it was all great, but incredible, right?
Oh, absolutely. It brought back memories, actually. So when my dad took me to an arena football game when I was a lot younger, he did the same exact thing. One of the guys threw the ball in the stands, and he wanted to make sure I got the ball, so he went and caught the ball. He has athletic history, so I guess.
Oh, no doubt. Listen, sign him up. I think he's still got some skills.
That's incredible. It's like 4 rows. God bless him.
Incredible.
Man, that's awesome. Tony, you know this is a tough game, man. It's a tough game physically. It's a tough game mentally. You got to keep at it. You're one of those guys who has to have the type of moment that you had yesterday. Not just that, but the forced fumble, recovered fumble, everything else that happened for you in the game. At times, were you ever like, man, is this ever going to happen? And then it really has happened for you. How satisfying was yesterday for you personally?
I mean, it was very satisfying. I mean, it's been, like you said, a lot of hard work, a lot of dedication, but all in all, it's just a matter of sticking to the script and knowing that your time is coming. I mean, I play my role. I know my role on the Cleveland Browns, and when I need it and when I needed to step up, I'll step up. It's a team game. Football, it's 11 guys on the field at one time. I mean, we got 53 men on our roster on game day, so as long as everybody shows up and plays their all, that's how we get things done.
You know, Tony, you're obviously so productive in college, all those 100 tackle seasons, and then you look at, coming to the Browns, a lot of people thought you'd be a will linebacker, and I think that's what you started at. But once everything happened, Taki moves to Mike, they said, we need another Sam. And so you got an opportunity at the Sam linebacker position. I'll go back to a play against the Buffalo Bills in Detroit where they ran it to their left, our defensive right. You set the edge. You blew up about 2 guys. Forced them back in. I don't know if you made the tackle on the play, but you blew the play up basically on the edge, took on 2 blockers. You were fired up. Coach Tarver was fired up, and I felt like that play really kind of jump-started you, and you've earned more time since then, and then obviously in a game where the Browns needed the defense, you were out there making monstrous plays leading to Denzel's touchdown, scoring a touchdown of your own. But was that play, did that stick out to you personally as well as one where you kind of started maybe to turn the corner, or it was a proof-type play for you?
Not more so a proof type play. I mean, Coach Tarver stresses about being ready. Everybody be ready at all times. So he always told me that ever since I've gotten to the building, make sure you're ready. He told me to study every position. So that's what I was doing. I was just being a student of the game, waiting for my time to come in. I've been playing football all my life. So as soon as I got my shot, I know my rules, know what I got to do, and do what is expected of me.
Tony, how satisfying is it the way the defense played yesterday, the last couple of times out, really good against Cincinnati a couple of weeks ago as well. Last year the defense came along late. It feels like you guys have some good momentum on that side of the ball this year as well.
Could you repeat that? I'm sorry. You cut out a little bit.
Sorry, man. Just the way that the defense has been playing of late. It was a unit that early in the year was maligned a little bit. It feels like you guys have that stuff sorted out now. How satisfying is it to have a couple of good defensive performances stacked, and even the Cincinnati performance from a couple of weeks ago? That you're starting to see what this defense can be. How satisfying is that for you guys in the group as a whole?
Oh, this is great. I mean, as a defense, you want to force takeaways. You want to get to the ball. You want to allow the offense as little yards as possible. And I feel like we're all in all coming together and playing all as one as a defense. And that's what you want to see.
Tony, when's the last time you scored a touchdown?
In high school. Long time ago, man.
Wow. So this is obviously what a moment for you. You said you had a celebration planned. Are you going to give it? Will you give us a little peek behind the curtain, or are you going to save that for your next defensive touchdown?
I'm gonna save it for next time. There will be more, hopefully. So I'm gonna save it for next time.
What's it been like in your room? What was the reaction of the guys who know how hard you work, and you know Coach Tarver, Coach Bloom, who work with you all the time, and then knowing that it's wild. Anthony Walker, Jacob Phillips, now Taki, who I love that guy. I know everybody in that room loves him. You know, they go down. There will be more opportunities for you, but how happy were the guys, your peers, your coaches, and I know that's what matters the most to you, how happy were they for you in this performance that helped get the Browns a much-needed win?
It was all love, and that's honestly what made me appreciate that moment so much more, seeing how happy everybody was for me, and even the coaches and everybody like Coach Woods and the offensive coaches, even coaches that you wouldn't expect to come up to you and that were extra excited and celebratory. So it actually felt real good. And you know the position room, they're all ecstatic. We actually talked about it in the first quarter, like we're going to get one in this room today. We're going to get an interception in this room today. It happened to be me, but, I mean, we're all excited. We always try to stress takeaways, so.
And you did do that. Walk us through, since it was the touchdown, and then I want you to walk us through the two plays. The forced fumble that leads to Denzel's touchdown, and then your interception on the touchdown. Start with the one near the goal line that really started to turn things around.
Forced fumble, man. Quarterback goes and tries to dive and get some extra couple yards, and he sticks the ball out a little bit, and I mean, anybody knows if the quarterback dives with the ball, you got to take a shot at the ball. You got to punch at it. So I went in and took my shot. Between me and Taki, we got a little vice tackle on him, took our shot, and the ball came out.
Yeah, it looked like a little left hand from you, a right hand from Tak, a deadly combination, and then Denzel gets to run it in, becoming the first Brown ever to have 2 fumble recovery touchdowns in the same season. And they couldn't have been easier. When just the ball's just in the end zone against Pittsburgh, and then Tony and Taki get it for this one. And then on the interception where you guys blew up that screen, what was that? What did you see? How'd you diagnose it? And then when the ball was in the air, what was going through your mind?
Oh, man. I mean, we were trying to get to the quarterback. As you can see, it was me, Miles, and Chase. I mean, thanks to Chase for tipping the ball up, my guy. But we were all just trying to get to the quarterback, sack the quarterback. And once that ball's tipped, we stress something in our defensive room, tips and overthrows. We got to get those. So anytime in practice we see a ball tipped, we flow to the ball. So it's like common muscle memory now. So as soon as I see a ball tipped or it's falling on the ground, I try to skip and get to the ball as fast as I can, be the first one to the ball. So it happened to work, and I was in the right place at the right time.
Can you believe that official tried the one guy was like, that was an incomplete pass? I mean, the ball went up off of a tip into the air, and you caught it and ran it in. Unbelievable. Well, Tony, congratulations, man. So happy for you, and there's more to come. There's going to be a lot more to come. 5 more games. Starts with a big one down in Cincinnati.
Absolutely. Thank you guys so much for having me.
All right, Tony. Thanks, man. Great stuff out of him. I love seeing guys put in the work, and then you have a day like that. And the dad catch is unbelievable. If you haven't seen it, folks, I hadn't until Gibby showed me. I hadn't seen it.
I don't know if that has made it to the.
It will.
Well, it should.
It should. It's a stunning display of athleticism, and no worries about one's own health or others. It's amazing. Yeah.
So I believe our video guys are the ones that got that.
Oh, so when you asked the question, I thought it had gone viral. I'm like,
No.
I knew he knew.
Yeah. But like the rest of us had
watch
like,
it.
I don't know that for sure. I'm trying to get confirmation on that, but
it's a hell of a catch.
Yeah, I have a still photo of it, and I'm like, what am I looking at? And then the video came, and I'm like, oh, it's him literally upside down in the stands.
Unreal.
Absolutely amazing. What's that? What do you got?
Pick up your phone right now. Oh my God.
What do we got here?
The Hoff.
What is he doing?
Oh my goodness.
Oh my.
Where is he?
In full cowboy regalia. Look at his
believe he's
bolo.
in Texas on a birthday week
hunt
with the boys.
Look at him.
Oh,
I like this character to the
God.
right that's with him. It looks like a great compatriot for the Hoff.
This guy?
Yeah, that guy. I'm big that guy. Kind of looks like a Wisconsin rougher Bradley Cooper. Kind of got that look to him.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's nice. I love this. Is unbelievable. Is he he has a bolo tie.
Yeah.
He's in a denim pearl snap.
Look at the bolo. Look at the bolo, though. I mean, the bolo is when you zoom in on it.
Yeah, it's a stallion. Oh, my gosh. This is an elite crew of operators.
This is incredible.
Yeah, I need to know what airport in Texas. These are things that need to be sorted out. We have a lot more to sort out from this one. Of course, it is a Victory Monday. It's unbelievable. What a moment. You'll hear from Coach Stefanski, his presser coming up next. You'll listen to Cleveland Browns Daily on 850 ESPN Cleveland.
Fullback, Pierce, tailback, Allen underneath center on 4th down and goal. They motion the receiver right to left. Here's Allen throwing left sideline, incomplete! What a play! The Browns knocked the ball away down by the goal line. It was belted away by Delpit at the goal line, and the ball goes over on downs.
Cleveland Browns Daily brought to you by Ballybet. Coming soon to Ohio on 850 ESPN Cleveland.
And the Bath Authority can give you that bathroom of your dreams in about a day. Why not transform your current bathroom into a custom bath for a spa-like experience? Let the Bath Authority make it a reality for you at a fraction of the cost of the competitors. The Bath Authority is Cleveland's premier bath and shower remodeler, expert and factory-trained installers. You give them a call now at 216-220-8399. You get $500 off your next custom bath or shower remodel. Go to thebathauthority.com for more information. It's where affordability meets quality. Enormous selection of bath projects are all made right here in America. You can change your bathroom from outdated to outstanding. Superior products with expert installers at thebathauthority.com. Now let's head to the podium and Kevin Stefanski from earlier today.
You know, yesterday,
You're down.
Proud of our football team going on the road, getting a W, which we set out to do. So proud of the effort. Obviously, talking about the defensive scoring twice, special team scoring was outstanding. So team effort, and then we got to look for ways to improve, and we got to do that this week, going on the road versus a division opponent, an opponent we know well, they know us well. So December football in your division, looking forward to the challenge. But with that, I'll take any questions.
Coach, real quickly on Sione, what did it mean to you guys to have him step up into a tough spot with other injuries and play at the level that he did?
Yeah, Tak's one of my favorites, plays very, very physically, loves this game, plays hard, great teammate. And like you mentioned, he was playing more for us than he had in the past, and his role had expanded because he earned it. Was playing out of position, so to speak. We moved him to Mike linebacker, and he was doing a really nice job. So, disappointed for him, but excited for what that's going to mean for some other guys stepping up. And also I know what Sione's going to do with this rehab like he always does. He's going to attack it and be ready to go next year.
As far as Deshaun, I think understandable rust with the layoff. Kevin, what can you guys do this week to kind of accelerate him getting back to being the Deshaun Watson you need him to be?
Yeah, I think kind of like we talked about yesterday, that was the first one and the first one in a long time. So we knew that there was going to be a little bit of playing through that. And I think he gets that. He'll get more comfortable with the more game reps that he gets. And I think all those things that you look at offensively, all the things that you look at with Deshaun, they're all correctable.
Hey, Kevin, staying on Deshaun, the issues yesterday, especially the inaccuracy, I guess some of those low throws, do you attribute all the issues to just the long layoff?
Yeah, again, I just think it's always getting back to the basics, specifically for Deshaun. Yes, there's a long layoff, so there's certain things that will only come with more game reps and more practice, and I expect that to happen.
And, a lot of times coaches talk about the jump from week 1 to week 2 or year 1 to year 2. Do you think it's reasonable to expect that he make a big jump in start number 2?
Yeah, I don't want to put any type of expectations on it per se, Scott. I think it's important for us to go find a way to win. That's what we did yesterday. Going to go on the road against a really good opponent this week. We just got to find a way to win.
Yeah, Coach, you've been obviously stressing it. We've asked you all year about the takeaways, but I think you had 8 all year and you had half that yesterday, turned into 24 points. Does that just reinforce, to the players how that single-handedly can be the difference in these games?
Without a doubt, Fred. To go get 4 takeaways, to score twice on defense, obviously to score on special teams, to take the ball away on special teams. Those are the type of things that you're always looking to do, and that those help you win ball games. And as you know, they seem to come in bunches. So we're always looking for multiple games where we can get multiple takeaways, because it really changes the complexion of these games.
Hey, Kevin, I want to ask you about the offensive line too. It seems like it's been out of sync a little bit lately. And do you think, is that all because of the injury to Ethan Posick, or how do you attribute that?
Yeah, ran the ball effectively yesterday, Jeff. So I think, like you mentioned with Ethan's injury, got to, Yelda's stepping up and doing a nice job for us. But I think week in and week out, you're going up against some very difficult fronts. And I think for us yesterday to block how effectively as we did, it wasn't perfect. I had some really nice runs mixed throughout, but it's always going to be a challenge when you're facing some of these fronts.
your return game really seems to have turned around these last couple of weeks. And, obviously early in the season, we kept hammering you with questions about getting something there. And you were really adamant about staying the course and that. Do you feel some semblance of maybe validation that your patience with that particular area of the game has paid off, and now you're getting the dividends from that?
I mean, no, not looking for validation. I just think we're trying to be consistent and trying to get good special teams play. So yesterday, Donovan did a great job getting vertical. The guys did a great job blocking, and he ran away from people and did a really nice job. But I think the big thing, Daryl, to your point, is we just got to play consistently. And in the special teams game, that's coverage and return phases. It's field goal, being able to be consistent there. I think that's what you saw yesterday.
Hey, Kevin, when it comes to middle linebacker, is it not just as simple as saying Deion Jones has done that? He's the next guy up?
Yeah, no, certainly. Deion's played for us, played at a high level at that position. We've had Jordan, Kunazik's been in there. So we have options. We have guys that are going to be moving around potentially, but we'll make sure that we got a good plan going into this one.
Did Brissett change the play at the line on his one play?
No, well, I don't want to get into the specifics, but he did exactly what he was supposed to do.
Yeah, speaking of Jacoby, Deshaun, complimented him yesterday for, the invaluable help he was to him on the sidelines and all that. And obviously you used him for a snap. Because he's so well versed in this offense, do you envision, maybe even a package of plays for him to be ready to give him, something to do, since he was so in sync with everybody on this team?
Yeah, we'll see as we go forward, Mary Kay, each game, what that game calls for and what that game plan calls for. Jacoby was a huge help.
30.
He was awesome on the sideline, like he always is, was a help to, I know, Deshaun, the rest of that offense. That's part of his role. And picking us up on the sideline. I thought he did a great job.
The interception, did Deshaun, if you got a chance to watch it on tape or even talk to him, did he just think the safety was going to kind of clear out on the over? I know he had a hand in his face too. Just kind of what did you see there on that INT?
Yeah, I think biggest thing was we were late, and we were late because of a couple things up front. So you got to learn from that one. If it's not clean, we got to find an incompletion on that play.
You're up.
All right, there's Coach Stefanski from the availability earlier today. Lots to get to. Yeah, we had it was so great to have Tony on, but a couple other things from the win. We'll have Jim, the voice, joining us here in about 20 minutes from now. A couple other things in the win in terms of the way it went about it, and coming out of it and going into Cincinnati. When you think about the way that we operated, what was there anything you thought we'd see more of? Because this whole thing's going to be about Deshaun. That's what it was yesterday. That's what it's going to be this week against Cincinnati. It's really what the rest of the season's about when you dug the hole that we dug. We want to win amidst it. You're still in the mix. But in terms of us at our best with Watson, what will that look like, and what did it fail to do yesterday?
Well, ultimately, it'll look like the best of what we saw with Jacoby Brissett in terms of, that play-action game, the run game. A lot of that will be similar, but then you're going to see, I think, more dynamic downfield passing. You're going to see more dynamic movement in and around the pocket from Deshaun Watson. You got a glimpse of that. He had the nice 11-yard scramble. And you're going to see what you should see. I mean, let's not forget, this is the first time in his career that he has quarterbacked a game where his offense did not score a touchdown. First time in his NFL career. It was the lowest quarterback rating of his NFL career. So it's only getting better from here. And you're going to see higher accuracies. The guy's a 70% passer for his career. And, you'll see that. The rust was real. It certainly affected him. And, hopefully it will get better going forward.
One thing that was, the astute eye, I think, would pick it up. And my eye is not astute. It's meddling at best. But there's an early play in the first or second drive where it was a give to Chubb, and the backside, so it was a give to the right, Watson rolled, and the backside linebacker stuck.
Yeah, that's the
difference.
Yep.
That's it. That's a subtle thing.
Yep.
That's one last hat on Nick Chubb because they're worried about 4.
Well, and it opened up, if you notice, it opened up more cutback lanes because the backside wasn't crashing down. So you had the room to put your foot in the ground and cut back, which Nick Chubb did on a couple of our stretch type runs. So that changes it or read option looks. That changes it. And then you saw the one where he kept it. They called a penalty on Donovan Peoples-Jones, which was Some of the penalty calls yesterday I thought were atrocious. I
It
thought
was
the roughing
honestly-
the passer was atrocious. I thought the penalty on Chase Winovich was horrendous.
Yeah,
the guy
that
was blocking
crazy.
him.
Right. I thought it was one of the weirdest games I've ever seen.
It was bizarre, to say the very least. It was an
The
absolutely
interception,
strange game.
the crazy interception that John Johnson had
Yep.
early. We talked about the Fields one where they acted like it was the ball was incomplete. It was very clearly never in. I mean, it was so obvious. I just don't understand why we.
I don't know it was ever within 6 feet of the ground.
No, it was
because it went up and he caught it at like his head height. He's a 6-foot-plus man.
Yeah, yeah.
It was
strange,
so bizarre.
Yeah,
I mean,
very
we had
strange game.
That's the first time in our franchise's history that we scored 3 non-offensive touchdowns in a game.
Yeah. That's crazy. It's also, one other thing too, folks. Like, do we know that Donovan Peoples-Jones can return punts? Yes, we know.
Yeah.
Did we think he would take it to the house? No, probably not. But we knew that he had that ability. Like, he's been a sure-handed guy since he got here. That's never going to change. Also, and probably the reason, like I've heard a lot of people say, well, why hasn't he been returning punts all year? Because he's one of our best receivers, and we're not real deep there.
We are.
And we cannot risk.
Thin.
We are razor thin now. You cannot risk. At some point, you're almost like, fine, let's just catch it and go from there.
Yep.
Because it's not worth it for the risk for Donovan Peoples-Jones. Donovan Peoples-Jones right now is essential to what we do in the pass game. Essential.
Yes.
There's no margin for error anymore on it. So the notion of why has he been returning punts since week 1? Because he's been essential since week 1. And you can't risk that on a consistent basis. Back to returning punts. Like, you needed other people to step up.
He's already set a career high in catches, a career high in receiving yards for a season was set this game on his first catch. And he's great in the run game. He had a couple penalties in this one. That certainly hurt him, but he's excellent in the run game. So the reason – and look, back at Michigan, his freshman year, he was the Big Ten – he was like all Big Ten as a returner or all freshman team, whatever it was, but had some accolade as a returner. So it's something that he's done. And I talked to him outside the buses after the game, and he told me that he got last week when he kind of got that I think a couple 20-yard returns in that game. He said he started to get some confidence that, okay, maybe I can actually do some things. And returners are quick and shifty. He's more like a Cribbs in the sense that he's a bigger guy who can run through you. And that's what he did. He broke a couple of tackles on that one, kept his balance, which was incredible.
Yeah.
And he was gone. He got great downfield blocks from A.J. Green, from Dearness Johnson on that one that sprung him. But that was great. It was great for Preef to see special teams come through. It's been a mixed bag. But you're certainly starting to see some things in the return game, some good punts. And then, Cade York was steady. And when Cade York is good, it looks so effortless.
Yeah.
So it was good. That was good to see.
Yeah, it was good to see. It was good to see the defense have the bounce back that it did. That Texans operation is wildly incompetent at the moment.
Yeah.
They are. We've lived this. We know what it's like to do that. They're. You go 1-9-1. It feels like they're going to go 1-15-1. It seems like they're kind of destined to that. Not much better than that, if any. And what was kind of the environment? I saw some people tweeting videos or images of like the parking lots and stuff being largely empty.
There was nobody there. It was bizarre.
So even at kick,
what would you guess, Gibbe? 20,000?
Come on, in an NFL game,
even. Like, there's still 5 weeks to go. Mm-hmm. I could understand, like, if it's the last game of the year and you're right in the middle of the holidays and people are just like, you're awful and I'm not giving you a penny. Like, this was unheard of. I took a picture an hour before kick at the main parking lot across the street.
That's the one I saw then. That's the one I'm referencing.
I could count the cars. Yeah. It was one of the lightest attended games I've ever seen in my life. Like, even when we had our struggles, we were getting 35 to 40,000.
Yeah.
This stadium was empty. The entire upper deck, you could count
and the
people
club
in
level.
the upper deck.
And the club level. And the bottom was not totally full. I'm telling you, it was.
So we went online and looked 2 hours before kick. You could get a ticket just to get in the door for $20. You could sit in the lower bowl in the first 20 rows around the entire stadium for $50.
Wow. What was the breakdown on how many did we have?
A lot.
Yeah.
It was pretty cool at the end when Deshaun came off the field because he had to do a couple TV interviews and post game, and then he's walking up. I mean, there were a couple hundred fans around the tunnel, the Browns tunnel.
Yeah. It felt like it was not quite 50-50, but close to it, and a lot of Texans fans, and there were some boos for Deshaun. I think
you could hear it on the honestly. That's what. So this is what makes it a little surprising to me because on the television that seemed louder. So I wondered if it was amplified.
I'm going to say this. I told Connor that it was almost like they were piping in.
That's what it felt
the
like.
boos.
I mean, it felt like because I would never have known there were 20-some thousand there. I would have thought it was full because the boos were loud.
Here's
and I thought,
the thing that
geez.
was odd is that in the pregame. When he took the field in the pregame, there were not a lot of people there. It sounded loud. I think that's the acoustics of that building. And it was all cheers.
Mm-hmm.
All. There were a lot of Texans Watson jerseys in the crowd. So I don't – usually you can kind of feel or hear like that it's artificial, but it was certainly louder than what it appeared was happening out there. And it did not make sense with anything that happened pregame. Pregame, he was not booed.
So it felt like the television, for me at least, the television product made it seem like it was pretty close to full.
Oh, God.
And that it was,
and it's probably their
a ton of boos.
usual game presentation where they're going to pipe in the crowd noise. Like maybe it was already there because that's what it would be for any other game.
It's one of the. I think it's one of the. It's crazy because it's one of the bigger markets in the league. It's obviously a monster city. It's a football crazy town and state and all of that. And it just feels like aside from like this window where they had Watson and Watt and Clowney and Matthew and Hopkins, there was just one window. Now they had the Johnson window earlier and they drafted Carr right away, number 1 overall, but it feels like they are kind of always been like
in the teams,
just a generic,
the banners up top were
they won the division 6 times in the teens.
Yeah.
But I just don't
6 times. I couldn't believe that. I was stunned.
Well,
like 6 times.
That's when Manning, but that's Watson.
For
some of that's Watson.
2 of them.
Yeah. So and it's
J.J. Watt.
Yeah,
it's
Watt and those guys. Yeah. And
who was the quarterback?
Schaub.
Yeah.
But I mean, they never felt like. I just don't know if they've ever grown outside of like this little window.
Yeah.
Like they've never had like a transcendent player who crossed over. You know, like Carolina had Cam Newton.
Yep.
You know, they've had some guys who have crossed over. To me, they feel almost like Jacksonville, where it's like if you're not from that town, nobody cares beyond it. It feels kind of like that's where it is. It's a really interesting one when you think they've been there almost 20 years. And it's one of those things where, you know, they didn't get the benefit that we did, where we got to keep the history. We got to keep the nostalgia. They didn't. So they had to start from scratch, and it just – I can understand why there'd be a ton of Watson fans. He's probably provided them the best experiences they've had as a Texans fan.
That dome is so big.
It's a monster.
Like
it's
great. Like Detroit is a smaller seating capacity.
Yeah.
Houston is like, how many people from the state of Texas can we fit inside that stadium?
Everything's bigger in Texas.
Which is fine, except when you suck, it's really noticeable. And it's not a great stadium anyways.
I like it.
Okay.
Get a little ambient light in it. It's not Minnesota. I mean, Minnesota
No,
is the gold standard.
From a logistics standpoint, it's a pain for us.
Yeah. I think probably what everybody learned from Minnesota is the more natural light, the better.
Yep.
That gives you that feel that you're looking for. So if for people who are going to do those types of things, that's probably the way that you do it. Hey, Browns fans, skip the chore of laundry. Enjoy Life Not Laundry. Tide Cleaners offering 30% off dry cleaning for the month of November. Just mention the promo code Browns. Visit TideCleaners.com to find the closest location to you. Some exclusions may apply. The Voice coming up next. You'll listen to Cleveland Browns Daily, brought to you by Bally Bet. Coming soon to Ohio on 850 ESPN Cleveland.
on the punt. Donovan Peoples-Jones back and catches at his 25. Now where's he going to go? Cuts right. Out of a tackle, out of another tackle. 30, 35, 40, 45, 50. He's down the sideline. 35, 30, 25, 20, 15, 10, 5. He's gone. Touchdown, Donovan Peoples-Jones. And on one hit, the Browns take the lead.
Cleveland Browns Daily brought to you by Ballybet. Coming soon to Ohio on 850
You're up.
ESPN Cleveland.
Elkin Oak Serious Lawyers, Serious Injuries. Call 1-800-ELK-OHIO for a free case review. Elkin Oak's a proud partner of your Cleveland Browns. And now we head out on the Twisted Tea Hotline, brought to you by Twisted Tea Hard Iced Tea, an official sponsor of your Cleveland Browns. Keep it twisted, Cleveland. He is the voice of your Cleveland Browns, the great.
Well, he's got another accolade as well now. The president, the newly minted president of the referee Land Clark fan club, the one and only Jim Donovan.
Thank you very much. Our first meeting, incidentally, is this Friday. We're going to have a box lunch.
Jim, I'm going to get to the ponies in a second because that's tradition. I don't want to break tradition. The Tony Fields interception was just unbelievable. What are we looking at, guys? Like, the ball had never even got close to the field. It was crazy.
Well, first of all, Bo, as Nathan can attest to, we were up in heaven yesterday. We missed hell and purgatory, but we were in heaven yesterday by how far we were away from the game. And we could definitely see that the ball was deflected. That guy was 5 feet from where the play happened, and he clearly calls incomplete pass until it's turned around. I mean, that was one of many strange moments yesterday.
Is it the highest press box in the league, Jim? Or no, it's in the vicinity?
It's got to be. We were on the 8th floor.
I think it is because we were on the 8th floor. And I have to tell you, now a couple of weeks ago when the snow game for Buffalo, when we were in Detroit, we were up pretty high, but it was terrific. I mean, it really was a great sideline. I mean, I thought it was perfect.
Yeah.
This was really high. I know they do things big in Texas, and they ain't kidding. I'll tell you when they built that place.
No, it was – and the other thing that was so hard about it was impossible to see the numbers on the Texans' uniforms from how far away we were because it was a dark navy jersey with a dark red number.
Oh, why do they do that? I hate that.
Couldn't see at all from our vantage point. But, yeah, tough day for the officials. Obviously, Land Clark, we don't need to see him anytime soon. But, Jim, we've talked about it. One of the strangest games. Obviously, you went there to get a win. You did that, but certainly not in the way in which anybody thought. A bizarre game from start to finish for the Browns. What did you think? Now that you've had a day to kind of process it, what do you think?
Well, I was just listening to it, as a matter of fact, and you're absolutely right. You know, a long, long time ago, I'll tell you this quick story. My first year of being able to do football games on NBC, at the beginning of the season, before the start of the preseason, NBC would gather all the announcers in New York, and they'd have like a boot camp, like a training camp. And I remember just sitting beside Dick Enberg one day at lunch in between sessions, and he said to me, let me give you a piece of advice. Go into every game, and you can always expect that something really out of the norm can happen. And sometimes, you know, it will seem that NFL games follow a pattern, but you always have to be ready for something just completely bizarre to happen. And I say to myself yesterday, God bless Dick Enberg. He's right. Everything did happen, and it happened in one afternoon.
Yeah, Jim, I think we kind of led the show with this. It can be, first of all, it's so great to learn amidst winning, right? That makes everything a lot better,
right.
and we certainly take all of them. And it can also be true that what you were hoping to see out of Deshaun, however naive that may have been after 700 games without playing a real game, that this fell a little bit short of that. What did you see from him just in terms of the way he went out of business, nerviness, that type of stuff?
Yeah, you know what I think, Bo, the thing that I saw, and as I kind of sat back this morning and kind of reflected back on it, like what was going on, I think he wanted to play fast because that's the way he plays. But I also found that he seemed very hesitant about what he wanted to do when he was in the pocket. You know, it just seemed as though he was in between gears. Like, do I run it? Do I roll out here?
Yep.
Do I show like I'm going to run, which he did, and maybe I'm going to throw the pass? And a couple of times it looked like even Browns players that were on that sideline, hugging that particular edge sideline, were a little bit shocked and surprised. They didn't know what he was going to do. So I just think, and as the afternoon went along, he just seemed to be not happy feet in the pocket, but he had like red hot feet in the pocket. Like his feet were walking on coals because he was just all over the place. And I'm wondering if that was a problem that led to some of the throws mechanically, falling down, going low and things like that, because he was just coming apart a little bit. So he's got to find his gear, and I'm sure he will. But I thought he made the best statement post-game that was so applicable to what happened yesterday when he said, I felt every one of those 700 days that I have not played in a regular season game, each and every one of them. And I definitely could see it, and I'm sure everybody else could. We all saw it too.
Yeah, and it's one of those things. Bo and I were talking earlier, and we talked about during the broadcast even briefly, something as simple as how you take your steps, how you do your dropbacks. And one thing in practice, when you're not going to get hit, you can kind of do it at a leisurely pace, and it'll probably be consistent. But you noted on one, he kind of sprinted to the top of his dropback about 8 yards behind the line of scrimmage, it felt like. And, that wasn't consistent. So that affects your timing. That affects your rhythm, all of those things. And so I think it's part of it's feeling all of that out. And didn't you think the dropbacks were an interesting, when you just isolate those were even interesting to watch and not what you've ever really seen from Deshaun Watson?
Yeah, I agree. And, I think that we've seen, and certainly last week in the build-up to the game, you would go back and you would, see video of his heydays and his glory days, and there were glory days, in Houston, and you would watch him perform, and then you just fast forward it in your mind and your imagination. Okay, that's what it's going to be like this Sunday, and it wasn't, and it fell short of that. But logically so. I think that Bo, you hit it right on the nose when you said we were probably all very naive to think that after 700 days it was just going to be pick up, ready, set, I'm ready to go, and it's going to be just like it was when I was having a big year my last year in Houston. It's just not feasible that that's going to happen, and it didn't happen, and it's going to take some time. And I would predict he will be better this week in Cincinnati than he was yesterday. And, of course, he'll need to be.
Yeah, he will be if you watch them yesterday afternoon as they took care of Kansas City. Yeah, Jim, that's the thing that is interesting, too, is and Nathan and I discussed this earlier in the show, he's going to have to be so much better in Cincinnati. He knows it. Everybody knows it. It was almost, to us, it almost felt like maybe the second half could have been kind of viewed as almost as an exhibition game. We obviously were run heavy in the second half. Would you have liked to seen Kevin throw it a little bit more? I use this thing with Ohio State when they have it humming, like offensively, bing, bong, bong, like right down the field. It just felt like you wanted one of those drives from Watson so you could be like, okay, this is what we are. Now let's go play Cincinnati.
Absolutely. That's what you were looking for. I thought we had it just before he threw the interception, and then he threw the interception in the end zone. I thought that, I think that would have really kind of smoothed everything out. There's no doubt about that. I just think that as the day went along, the one thing I worried about, guys, and Nathan, you and I were talking about it during a commercial break, but when that got to be a 6-point lead, a one-score game and less than a touchdown with an extra point tacked on, I was concerned that the Texans might get a little hot and go down and score. And if we fell behind in the game, I was concerned that he was going to be able to drive them down the field, even to get them into field goal range, never mind a touchdown, to try and win the game. I don't know if he had the capacity to do that yesterday, because as the game went along, we were so one-dimensional because of the struggles he was having that we were all run, and I didn't know if we could do that. So the fact that we were able to take care of business defensively with turnovers, obviously special teams, recovering a fumble, and that glorious punt return by Donovan Peoples-Jones, then everything was okay. Once they expanded the lead, then you knew you were going to get out of there with what you went down there to do, which was to win the game. But this is going to be very different on Sunday in Cincinnati.
Yeah, you're not going to have the opportunity to have those lulls if we play offensive football like that. We will be beaten, and the Bengals are very good. Now, for Watson, first time in his career, he's been the quarterback of a team that didn't score an offensive touchdown, lowest quarterback rating of his career. So, as we said, there's only one way to go, which is up for him. But let's talk about that defense. And this is not a good offense of the Houston Texans. They were without Brandon Cooks. They were not good. But our defense, yes, a fortuitous bounce, you would say, on the John Johnson interception. But other than that, they did a great job. Jim, what stood out to you about the performance defensively in this one?
Well, Nathan, the last 2 weeks, I'll even include the Tampa Bay game the week before, it might get run on a little bit early, which they did in the first series in Tampa Bay.
Yep.
And the kid Pierce got going a little bit yesterday, on his first carry, on his first couple of carries. But then we're shutting it off. We're shutting it down, and I really think we clog it up very, very well. I think if you say to yourself, all right, it's mandatory that you stop the run. You have to do that. That's the first commandment to winning defensively in the NFL. I think we're starting to do that much better than obviously the Miami game, what happened down there and, what happened in the other games that really had us worried about the Browns defense. We're playing the run so much better. And whereas we did not get sacks yesterday, we did get great pressure that forced errant throws. So there's a different way to win yesterday, and there are also different ways to play really good defense. It's not always about the sacks. It's pressure and what pressure leads to, and I think it led to high errant throws, tip balls, getting your hands up. All the good things really started to come into play, and I really do believe that probably even since the Baltimore game in Baltimore, overall, they've played better defense. It's kind of like last year when they really started to get it at the end of the year. Plus, the other thing was there were more people playing yesterday. I mean, Winovich played yesterday. Perion Winfrey's playing more. Tony Fields is playing more, and deservedly so. And, and the kid Emerson, I mean, he's been playing great since he walked on the field in July. So, I mean, there are good signs here defensively. That's how I think they played.
Well, they'll need all of that this Sunday down in Cincinnati. That team's as good as any in the league. Beat Kansas City yesterday. Burrow, Watson. I mean, I always kind of felt like in the back of my head that Burrow being this good, this quick, kind of forced this organization to say, hey, this ain't going to be it with Baker Mayfield, who incidentally was cut today by Carolina. And you had to get better in a hurry. They did with Watson, and now you get your first look at what should be a 5 to 10 year run of these two quarterbacks going head to head.
Yeah, the other thing, Bo, is that, and I know it was baby steps yesterday for Deshaun Watson, okay? But there still is that fire in that guy that has made him a great player at every level, high school, college, and in the NFL. And you just say to yourself that he's going up. He realizes who he's going up against next week. He touched on that yesterday during his post-game press conference. And, I somehow say to myself, a guy like that will say to himself, hey, listen, I'm going to drive myself athletically and within Kevin Stefanski's offense to make sure that I'm better. And a guy that has fire like that goes along with the talent like that, I'm not going to sell him short that he is going to play better and that he'll be charged up to play against that team. And definitely, even though you're not individually going up against Joe Burrow, in many ways you are going up against Joe Burrow because it's going to be a natural comparison. I would feel that he would really be ready to play, go into that game and tap into every athletic gene he has. And that's quite a pool of genes, I think, to really come up with a performance.
It will be, and I think I'm optimistic that David Njoku will be able to be back for the Browns in this game against the Bengals, which would be huge because, Jim, we talked about this yesterday. David Bell gets hurt. Schwartz fumbles, and it seemed like he was benched at that point. Now he ultimately gets hurt and is in the concussion protocol. Demetric Felton, because Mike Woods was inactive, was on the field a ton yesterday and did not really – I don't think he recorded a stat. There was one pass attempted in his direction, which was one of the ones Watson threw down into the ground. But we need to get somebody else involved in the game beyond just Cooper or Donovan Peoples-Jones via the air. So getting David Njoku back, I think in many ways he is your number 2, number 3 receiver along with Donovan Peoples-Jones. That'll be a massive return, I think.
Yeah, and I think even going into the whole thing, we said, who will benefit from a Deshaun Watson quarterback team? really probably at the top of the list would be a guy like David Njoku.
Yep.
And I agree with you, Nathan. You definitely have to. You're going to need more targets. You're going to need more people, and you have to be able to get them involved in the game because it opens up everything. I mean, one thing leads to another. It's like, one hand leads to the other hand working. The running game can help the passing game, but the passing game can help the running game too. Yesterday, the main thing is you just cannot be as one-dimensional in the game like they became yesterday, and yet they were able to walk out of there with a win.
And that's what mattered, and it was because defense, special teams, Tony Field, Jordan Kunashik, guys like that making plays for this team. One of the things we've talked about all year was special teams had kind of let us down, and it feels like the last couple of weeks, last week DPJ gets some nice returns. Ford has a nice return. Bojorquez pins them back deep with a punt that ended up being critical at the end of the fourth quarter, allowing us to get the ball back. And then yesterday, there was the one bad coverage on the punt after the safety, or the kick, quote-unquote, kickoff after the safety, where King got a 50-yard return. Right. But other than that, it felt like our returns were great. DPJ, obviously, with the huge one. Bojorquez punted very well 4 times inside the 20 and pinned them back deep, which led to a touchdown. And he also had Cade York. And some of the kickoffs were a little wonky, but when his field goals are good, Jim, it looks so easy. And I think we're going to need special teams and defense. We're going to need all 3 phases if we want to go 5-0, which I think we're going to have to do here to get into the playoffs.
Yeah, you're right, and it's good to get him going, and it's good to also not see him having to live at 58, 60, 61. Let's get him in a little bit. I mean, it's great to watch him. It's great in pregame to go, ooh and ah, look at him. I mean, but really, let's get him into like 35 and 40 and 43 like he was yesterday, because I think he really will become automatic, and I commend them for really being 1,000% behind him, even during a rookie year that's had a couple of hiccups. And I think he's learning, and I think he's definitely learning, and probably still going to have to educate himself on how to kick in his own stadium, because it's a very, very different turf and very different weather down there and atmosphere down there. But yeah, you're right. I think everything kind of fit special teams wise coming around, and it's good because really, for many, many chunks of the season, when they had to punt or they had to, cover a kick or cover a punt, you really held your breath a lot because there were so many things that were stacking up that were negative. Now we're turning it around the other way. We're making some positive things on special teams. And then you can see how it all fits into the equation of the 3 phases of the game.
Well, we'll get you out of here on this one, sir. The ponies, we got blankets on them. Do we have the hay in the barn? Do we have plenty of oats? We stocked up?
All very good questions and applicable to what went on today.
Yep.
They were out with blankets.
Yep.
Then I brought them in and took the blankets off because, we're kind of in the 40s, and they love that. They like the blankets when it's windy. They like to shed them when it's sunny and in the 40s. So they're without blankets. Hayloft is stacked. Barn is decorated, awaiting the 3 kings, Mary, Joseph, and I believe the Christ Child's going to be here on December 25th.
I love it. Let's go. Barn is decorated and ready to go. God bless you. God bless the ponies, Jim. Great. Thank you for your time today, sir.
So long from my little Bethlehem. You got it.
The great Jim Donovan joining us
legend.
On the Twisted Tea Hard Iced Tea Hotline, official sponsor of your Cleveland Browns. Keep it twisted. He's the best. There's nothing quite like tailgating touchdowns and Twisted Tea. It tastes just like real iced tea. You know why? Because it's made with real brewed tea. Cool, refreshing, 5% kick of alcohol. It's thirst down and goal. Twisted Tea Hard Iced Tea. Keep it twisted. We'll give out some game balls coming up next. You listen to Cleveland Browns Daily, brought to you by Bally Bet on 850 ESPN Cleveland.
punt. Donovan Peoples-Jones back and catches at his 25. Now where's he going to go? Cuts right. Out of a tackle, out of another tackle, 30, 35, 40, 45, 50. He's down the sideline, 35, 30, 25, 20, 15, 10, 5. He's gone. Touchdown, Donovan Peoples-Jones. And on one hit, the Browns take the lead.
Cleveland Browns Daily brought to you by Ballybet. Coming soon to Ohio on 850 ESPN Cleveland.
Hey, Browns fans. Enter for your chance to win Browns season tickets, free Milk-Bone dog treats for a year and more. It's all courtesy of Milk-Bone, the official dog treat of your Cleveland Browns. Visit browns.com/Milk-Bone to enter, then visit your local Meijer to check out all the variety of Milk-Bone dog treats. Time for some game balls. Let's start on the offensive side. Dr. Z, who do you got?
Well, I'm going to give it to Donovan Peoples-Jones, but not for anything he did on offense, but for his 76-yard punt return that changed things around for the Cleveland Browns. I thought that was incredible, a great play for him, and he's just blossomed so much in his third season.
Yeah.
One of the best draft picks, honestly, of this regime when you think about it, as a
Sixth rounder, man.
The fact that he is a 100% legit starting caliber NFL wide receiver, a good number 2 for this team, does everything the right way, and I was thrilled for him personally.
Yeah, I'll tell you, I'm going to give it to Joel Bitonio for just being Joel Bitonio and being a legend all the time, because there wasn't a whole lot that caught my eye. Nick was really solid. I will say the thing that I was really pleased with and made me happy was the way Kareem ran it, because I hadn't seen that for it felt like about a month and a half. And he was a one-stop, foot-in-ground, violent uphill runner, which it was good to see again, because you're going to need, to your point earlier, you're going to need all of that, especially if we continue to be this battered at receiver. You're going to need all of that to try to beat Cincinnati on Sunday. So I was happy to see that.
Agreed. I like that.
One player on defense, Tony Fields was the guy. I mean,
yeah, you got to go Tony Fields. I'll go Greg Newsome. I thought Greg was all over the field yesterday. I thought that he played very well. Miles is obviously every week, leads the team in pressures. Winovich, I thought, played very well in his snaps. But you're going to go Tony Fields. I'm going to go actually, I'm going to change my mind. Greg was great. I'm going to give it to Sione Takitaki.
God bless.
Last time we're going to get to talk about him this season as a player for the Cleveland Browns. Led the team in tackles in this game. He is a heart and soul type of guy, and I love him. And I really hope that he is provided a contract to stay here with the Cleveland Browns for a long time. Denzel, I thought, had his best game in a long time as well.
Yeah.
But I'll give it
it's
to
starting to come.
Taki then. Yeah.
It's starting to come a little bit. Winovich now getting more active in there. Remember, that's what he was signed to be.
Yes.
Emerson, Newsome, Denzel cooking a little bit. John Johnson, right place, right time. Great presence. Get the feet in. That was good to see. So you're starting to see that defense come along. But Fields is probably the right answer with just a superhuman performance and the one out of his dad as well. One wild card. You got a wild card game ball for this one? I'll go Preef. It's been a tough year for him.
And I'll
tough
go
year
Joe
for
Woods.
his group. Yeah, both those
same
guys.
thought,
yeah.
same vein,
same up. It's been tough. Those guys are pros. They're really good at their jobs. Not everything has worked the way that they wanted all season long, but in this one it did. So good job for both of those guys. The college football over the weekend was pretty bonkers. By Friday, you knew Ohio State was going to be in. By the time USC lost on Friday night, which was crazy, I thought USC would beat Utah, but they got bludgeoned. Mr. Zagura?
How about Saban going on Fox
during the Big Ten championship game
and lobbying to get his team in? First of all, isn't that some violation of the SEC's deal with CBS?
Saban absolutely usurps anything that the SEC does. He answers to no man or no entity. There was a very funny thing that I saw from a guy that I like reading in college football. Brandon Marcello is his name. He works for 24/7 Sports, and he tweeted out, "There's a good chance that if you host a college football podcast on Saturday night, Nick Saban will come on it." Like, he was that eager to try to spread propaganda to get his team in. They had 2 losses, and that's just 2 more. You just can't have 2. Everybody else had 1, and so all the teams with 1 loss got in. In the old days with the BCS, it would have been the right way, which would have been Georgia and Michigan. They're both undefeated, and you would have got to see those 2 play. Instead, the 2 1-loss teams get in. The only thing that I got wrong is I really thought that they would reward Georgia by giving them TCU and have Ohio State and Michigan play out in the Fiesta Bowl. I thought that the rewarding of the number 1 team is what they would have done, and what they did is they went most deserving. TCU is a more deserving number 3. They beat everybody that was on their schedule, including Kansas State, who they lost to in kind of a little bit of a weird way in the conference championship game. So I thought that they would have awarded Georgia more than an easier path, and so that's the best, most deserving conversation. TCU is the most deserving number 3. They're more deserving than Ohio State is the 3. But everybody knows if you were to ask Georgia who's the one team that you would be most leery about, it would be Ohio State because they recruit the same type of players. Ohio State's got a pro quarterback and pro receivers, and they haven't had to deal with a lot of that at Georgia this year. Georgia, on the other side, from the Buckeye side of this, they're basically Michigan on steroids. They're just bigger, stronger, faster, better Michigan. So it's a tough matchup for Ohio State.
Yeah, who's struggled with Michigan, obviously. Yeah. I wonder if they factor in the fact that there's conclusive evidence that TCU scored.
Well, there was that too, and that was
like as if to say, all right, yeah, they lost, but they won.
That was so stupefying that they didn't get that right. And then what was
it's
just
insane.
It's insane. And the other thing that was just as insane was that Sonny Dykes decided to hand it off 5 yards behind the line of scrimmage when no one had tackled that quarterback.
Also crazy.
Just sneak it. It wasn't first and goal from the 1. It was first and goal from about 18 inches. Go ahead, Gibe.
From ESPN's Pete Thamel.
Yep, Pete.
Jackson Smith-Njigba tells ESPN he is declaring for the NFL draft, will not compete in the CFP. Yeah. I was unable to come back on multiple occasions during the season. Doctors determined I would be unable to participate in the playoffs. Ryan Day, I want to thank Jackson for all he's done for our Ohio State program. He has had such a major impact here in Columbus on and off the field in a relatively short period of time.
It's really just one season. He played 2 last year. He broke the Ohio State single-season receiving record and broke the Rose Bowl all-time reception yardage record. He was the number 1 quarterback receiver in the draft, if not for the injury. The difference, though, compared to like him and even Nick Bosa, who did a similar thing, there isn't that much film on him and his explosiveness like there was on Jamar Chase, who sat out and still went really high, or Micah Parsons, who went really high. Those are the last 2 guys.
Like his coming out party was the Rose Bowl. Am I correct on that?
Well, he was
good all year.
He was
good,
in
the slot. So they put Wilson and they put Garrett Wilson, Olave on the edges, and they put Njigba in the slot. And so he just feasted because all the attention was out there. So I want to say he had 1,200 yards before the Rose Bowl, and then he had a 300-yard Rose Bowl game, and then that put him over
How did that
the
team
record.
Lose to anybody?
They lost to Michigan. They got bullied.
But it was the Rose Bowl.
Lost to Oregon, who bullied
the Rose Bowl was the first game that, because Wilson and Olave didn't play in that game.
No, that was when he was the guy.
Yeah.
And Harrison caught 3 touchdowns in that game as a true freshman. Yeah, so that was definitely his. Oh, boy. And then they rushed him back. He should not have played in the Iowa game. Then they denied that he was hurt in the Iowa game, which was nonsense. You could tell that it was done. And my guess is he just doesn't have trust to want to risk it again.
So you think he can't play?
I think he could play, but I think he doesn't want to risk what happened to him in the Iowa game where he re-aggravated an injury far worse than it was originally injured. That's what happened.
Yeah.
He played too damn soon.
Yeah, his eye is on the
hurt
combine.
In the Notre Dame game. He shouldn't have played again until Penn State at the end of October at the earliest, and instead he came back early, and that was of his choosing against Iowa. And I mean, it sucks for them
they
because
have a chance for a national championship. It's different if they were just going to a regular bowl game. Forget,
buddy.
Like the Alabama guys should not be playing in those bowl games.
No,
none of them should.
The college football is on its head. There's 700 kids entered the transfer portal today, including the starting quarterback at Clemson, the starting guard at Alabama. Like all of this is happening today. They're basically saying, "What can you pay me?" 3-year starting quarterback at NC State. Like all these guys are in the portal. What can you pay me to incentivize you to come? That happened today. I mean, it's chaos.
What do you think is going to happen at Colorado? What do you think of his speech?
All right, so 2 things I've never seen in my – so first of all, that was my go-to school. That's where I was going to go to college. I didn't. I stayed.
Would have been a hell of an experience.
I would have loved it. I stayed in Montana for a girl. It lasted a month. That's a story for another day.
Sad.
Love CU, my dream school. It's gorgeous. It's all those things. If you can win a Pac-12 championship at Utah, you can damn sure win one at Colorado.
No doubt.
So it's more attractive than Utah is for a lot of reasons. It is also way out of what I thought Deion Sanders' comfort zone would be. This is a guy who's from Fort Myers, who played at Florida State. He played the one supreme year with the 49ers, but most of it, and with the Ravens at the end, and Washington as well. But mostly he is a Southern guy. He's a Cowboy, a Falcon. After his playing career, lives in Dallas. Like, he identifies with the culture. There's a different culture in the South than there is out West. And so that's going to be a major adjustment from that standpoint for him. I'm surprised that he went there. Leads me to believe there weren't maybe better opportunities. Like, for example, like, to me, now that Louisville's open, that would have made more sense for him to go to Louisville than Colorado. But two other things happened yesterday that I've never seen before. So the athletic director at Colorado is interviewed. Someone asks him, how did you get the money for this?
We don't have
He goes, I don't, but I'm confident that we will. Come again?
Yep. That was stupefying.
Are you kidding me? And then the other thing that was happening, people didn't realize it right away. Deion gives a 7-minute speech to the current Colorado players. It's 7 minutes long. And in the beginning, it's really aspirational. And it's like, this is what we're going to do. Here's how we're going to handle this. We're going to do this. We're going to get better. Accountability, da-da-da-da-da. And then at the end, he says, I'm coming, and I'm bringing my luggage, and it's Louis. In other words, I'm bringing my players with me to Colorado. And then he tells the kids who are at Colorado,
and
there's people who have not spoken truth to you. You've let your parents down, this alumni down. You've let the student body down. Get in the portal because I got guys coming in here. Says it to him. Yeah. Then after that, gets him to chant. Yes. He goes, you know why they're coming? Because they're smart. Say it. They go, smart, tough. And he goes, tough. He gets them to chant their replacement's characteristics while telling them, hit the bricks, Jack.
Yeah.
That happened.
It was insane.
Insane. That all happened yesterday. Now, from what I've talked to several people in college football.
I'm bringing my luggage,
and it's Louis. And it's Louis.
I thought that was bizarre.
He's at the press conference. He goes, that's your quarterback. Shador, his kid, who's coming. That's your quarterback. Travis Hunter, who was that number 1 recruit corner, he's coming. But he goes, that's your quarterback. He's going to have to earn it. I'm like, yeah, I'm sure. But he's a good player. It's nuts. It's absolute nuts.
Is it going to work at this level?
Yes. It will, because of transfer portal and NIL. He's going to have built-in deals with Barstool. The only thing that's crazy is Colorado's a Nike school. So, and he's a Under Armour guy. So is he going to be able to finagle that? Because he was able to finagle Under Armour contracts for his players at Jackson State. I don't know if he'll be able to do that at Colorado, because unless they can get out of that Nike deal.
Wouldn't Nike be more than happy to have Deion Sanders?
Well, they had a pre-existing – I mean, he was Nike. He was a Nike guy, but he's been with Under Armour for a while now. So I don't know how that – I'm sure Nike would love to have him, but I don't know if he wants to be back in business with them. He might like
the price is right.
Under Armour, but he might have a contract. I mean, it's just messier than you might think. It's crazy.
One thought from you. It's on ACC Network. I don't even know where you can get the ACC Network or how you can get it.
Sure.
Tonight at 7, The Legend of Charlie Ward. Your thoughts? Did you cover him?
No, I'm not that old, Gibby.
He's
93.
Charlie was early 90s.
Yeah, Charlie was like a kid.
And Bob Sura.
Yeah, that's
I apologize
early 90s.
for that.
No, Wanky, I missed the end of Wanky.
Gotcha.
I got there right after Wanky left. He, Charlie Ward was probably, he's largely forgotten because he was basically an NBA role player who made a lot of money being a role player in the NBA on really good Knick teams.
Yeah.
Like in the finals, like he was a bench guy. He would start sometimes, hit some threes, really solid player. He's probably the best example of, if the NFL thought then the way they thought now, he would have probably been a star in the league because he possessed all the traits. It's just they ran a fast break offense with Mark Richt, the former Georgia coach, was the offensive coordinator, and Brad Scott, who's at South Carolina. Everything was out of the gun. Everything was 4 wide. Everything was fast. It was call it at the line, go, 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 go. And in those years, the NFL didn't want quarterbacks to do that.
That's not pro style.
No, and also at that point, and it's just the facts of it.
Small.
He's 6'3".
Was he?
Yeah, he's 6'2", 6'3".
Because it's funny. I think of him as a football player, as a basketball player.
Yeah.
He's so tiny on a basketball court.
No, he's ultra athletic and strong and all that. Look, they weren't drafting black quarterbacks then either.
No.
93, like you didn't. That was it. There weren't many.
Andre Ware.
Yeah, there's like one.
But he was a thrower,
Correct. And Charlie was too. Like if you go watch his games against, like they played Notre Dame in a number 1 versus number 2 game that Notre Dame actually won. He was sensational. Yeah.
So it's funny how I just kind of made that little dumb comment about because I think of a small basketball player.
Sure.
Did you either of you see the picture of Luka Doncic next to Micah Parsons?
No.
No.
So you think I think of Micah Parsons as like a big beast.
Yeah.
And Luka is like a taller, but NBA dwarfs him.
Yeah.
Dwarfs him.
Yeah, I bet he would because he's
stunning.
Was he
but
6'9", 6'10", and
every bit is broad.
270 or whatever. Luka got thick.
Yeah, it blew my mind.
Yeah.
I'll see if I can find it.
That's pretty wild. Yeah. Wild weekend. The Deion stuff in Colorado's was
that
insane.
Speech was
insane. Chant the characteristics of the people who are going to replace you. Addressing you.
I just wonder how much can he pull from that West Coast? Can he go into USC's backyard?
No, I don't think so. I think he's going to be. He is going to use portal and NIL. Yeah, that's
like I just think of Micah Parsons as like
huge.
Yeah.
He's going to use portal and NIL. He's going to try to reach kids that way. And he was great at Jackson State. I mean,
Colorado better come up with some quiche.
They're going to have to, and that was always been their problem. They don't have billionaire boosters though who can write checks.
There's so much money up there.
Yeah. There's a new way to cheer on your Cleveland Browns with the help of your favorite four-legged companion, Barking Backers, presented by Milkbone, the Browns' newest club for pet parents worldwide. Sign up today, barkingbackers.com. Barking Backers, the fan club for dogs. A lot around the league. Some catastrophic injuries at quarterback. We'll get to all of that. You listen to Cleveland Browns Daily on 850 ESPN Cleveland.
One high and deep, and back goes Desmond King. Caught it up high in his pads at his 15. He's to the 20. He's to the 25. He fumbled. Loose ball, and the Browns are going to come up with it. They got it, and by golly, what a day Tony Fields is having.
Cleveland Browns Daily brought to you by Ballybet. Coming soon to Ohio on 850 ESPN Cleveland.
OBM, the official printer partner of your Cleveland Browns. You depend on the Browns to win. You can always depend on OBM. They'll tackle any size office. The number is 216-485-2000 or visit ohiobusinessmachines.com. News in the NFL today. Our former quarterback, the number 1 overall pick, Baker Mayfield, released by the Carolina Panthers today. Coach Wilkes announcing that this afternoon in Carolina that was going to be the case. So he'll go through waivers, then we'll see where that goes. Pretty wild turn of events in the last year, 2 years for Baker Mayfield.
Yeah, no doubt. Shocking, in fact, that they decided P.J. Walker was their starter, Sam Darnold was their backup, and I think that it's being reported that he asked for his release, and you're a third-string quarterback, you're going to be inactive. You're not in their future plans, so if you can get a chance to get into somebody else's, but you wonder if we've seen the last of him as a starting quarterback. Now, the question will be around the league right now due to what happened to Jimmy Garoppolo, which is the next bullet point on this. Suffered a broken foot in the first quarter, so requires season-ending surgery, according to head coach Kyle Shanahan. Would the 49ers be interested? Now, it's going to depend on a couple of things. Number one, what did they think of him coming out? Mm-hmm. What was the evaluation of Lynch and Kyle Shanahan coming out? Number two, what is their evaluation of him now? And number three, would he be comfortable? Because everybody who's covers the Niners has already said the question is not would he come in to be the starter, would he come in and be able to be okay backing up and supporting Brock Purdy?
Well, and so that brings in 4. You just acquired a guy who played with him in Carolina. Hey, Christian, can you come in for a second? What was your experiments like with Baker Mayfield when you were in Carolina? I mean, it feels like there's a lot of things that could line up there in that regard.
I can see the Rams maybe.
Sure.
I mean, they don't even have anybody to play quarterback. Stafford's done.
Well, but the teams, the crazy thing is like he used to have a propensity to elevate. We just haven't seen it in a long time. He hadn't really done it this year. It's the damnedest thing. It is, because you go back to 2020 in the second half of that season.
20 touchdowns, 2 picks.
We said it all the time. You watch all the tape. It was no Odell. He just saw it, ripped it, went, and it just got broken.
Yeah.
And I don't know. It's one of those things.
Look at the birthday boy.
Oh.
Yeah, Big Drew. Happy birthday to Drew.
What a real treat. What a real
birthday to Drew.
I did. I loved it. That was Garoppolo can't stay healthy. It's just
sad.
Bad luck, and he can't.
His winning percentage.
It changes him, too.
His winning percentage is on par with Montana and Steve Young in 49ers lore. I would like to see, if I could just play, what would you like to see happen? And I don't know if he's got any game left, but I'd like to see the Colts. Because you don't see – in NBA, teams that are out of it who have veterans and one-year deals will release them and allow them to go ring chase.
How could he do that with Ryan? Could they –
I would know. That's not what I was going to say.
Oh, you're going another way?
Nick Foles.
Oh, Foles, yeah. Oh, could they cut him?
Yeah, of course.
But then could he get to the Niners?
I don't think
waivers.
I don't think he's. Would he be wavered? I guess veterans are even now.
Yeah,
I would think so. I mean, come on.
I could see someone just trying to roadblock it, though.
I was going to say
the Niners
or Philly brings him back.
Yeah, like who could roadblock him? That would be the only thing. Yeah, something like that. They are ready-made. They were my pick in the Super Bowl before the Garoppolo injury. I think you felt that way too. But I don't know what – can you do it with Brock Purdy?
What's the 49ers correspondent have to say? Is he just inconsolable right now?
I can tell you he does not. He would prefer many options other than
our former guy.
Our former guy. Yeah. He is against that.
Just as big and more germane to our situation is the Ravens situation. So Lamar Jackson went down with a knee injury in the first quarter. John Harbaugh saying yesterday, days, weeks, not in a year, but days, weeks.
Today they're saying that it might actually be less serious than initially thought.
Wow. But they are going Huntley this weekend, right?
Yeah.
Like they've already
he will
set that
start.
out.
Now, they carted off Patrick Queen in that game, too.
Yep.
Rough day. And
It
yet
was.
they still beat. By the way, the Broncos, they're gutless.
I want them relegated.
That is just gutless.
Guys, we still have 5 games left.
It's outrageous.
with all this
We're in
carnage.
second week in December.
Did you see the Broncos fan who gave him the paper bag treatment and it said Broncos country, let's hide.
That's pretty good. We do have a score for tonight that's coming up next. You'll listen to Cleveland Browns Daily, brought to you by Bally Bet on 850 ESPN Cleveland. And be part of one of the most passionate fan bases in the NFL. Join the Browns season ticket member waitlist today. The best chance of securing tickets for all home games and future seasons. Don't miss out. Go to clevelandbrowns.com/tickets or call 440-891-5050 to reserve your spot today. Monday Night Football, Gibby.
Indeed. The New Orleans Saints 4-8 on the year. Who wants to win the NFC South? Nobody is the answer.
Nobody.
Saints visiting Tampa Bay tonight. Tom Brady. A little primetime action as the Buccaneers welcome in New Orleans. Zagora.
I think the Bucs are unhappy with what happened here. I think they'll get Mike Evans the football. I think they win, and I think they win huge. Manning cast, right?
I believe so. Bucs ram it. One of the things that's just not being like they are continuing to roll out Dalton, like that. They won't come.
They won't go to
Jameis. How about Jameis?
That's what I'm saying. There's no conversation around why he hasn't played.
So I'd like to see him let go, and maybe he can go to the 49ers.
Yeah. I don't know.
You're just wishing.
I don't know.
Wishing
it's the
upon a
craziest
star.
thing. Bucks, ram it.
10.
All right. Next level coming up next. We're back tomorrow. Enjoy your Victory Monday. Cleveland Browns Daily, 850 ESPN Cleveland.